impacts your esteem. We're going to gain clarity on how to rev up your inner game of influence. And we are going to talk about 4 strategies that will help you improve your authenticity immediately. So I always go into who is Dr. Christie. So I was once you, like many of you, the professional who deemed as the performer. And regardless of my sphere of influence, I had to always prove that I was smart, that I was confident, that I was good enough. And in the spirit of transparency, I actually had to deal with that feeling or perception yet again today. So what I'm finding that even though I'm feeling like I've moved past those points, I'm finding that there are still triggers or things that happen that make me go back to feeling that way. So regardless of to that, I believe that I was always up for the challenge. And I can relate to people who are always expected to give 150% while others are expected just to show up. And I can count the number of times when people were shocked and disappointed when I failed to deliver or live up to their expectations of me. And I don't know how many of you can relate to that, but that's like one of, the worst feelings to have when people think that you are perfect and all along you want them to view you as a person who has feelings and who has flaws. So oddly enough, I became tired of performing and experiencing feelings of betrayal by those who I felt had my back. And we know, I mean, it's the worst feeling that you can have. And the interesting aspect of it all is I had to finally ask myself, what was I doing to make others believe that I could do it all? So the first part of that is doing an assessment of who you are and really looking at what you're giving off. And so the truth of it all is I was secretly regretting not effectively communicating my own wants and needs to others. Instead of saying no or level setting expectations and setting boundaries, I just rolled with it. And then I had a friend today tell me, Chrissy, you were just being passive. And I was like, I guess so. Because on the other end of it, it was like I already knew what the outcome was, but I didn't effectively communicate. One, I didn't ask a question why based on the situation. I didn't ask questions. So I easily regress back to some of the things that I fought so hard to improve upon. And because I was feeling the frustration but not sharing it, I began to experience unhealthy relationships simply by not sharing my true feelings, which meant that when stress showed up, I didn't have any filters. And how many of us just go straight off because now we're mad and we could have easily just had the conversation up front. And we know how all of that turns out. And what dawned upon me is that I had created a false reality for people in my life by appearing to be able to handle anything. And like many women, I felt like I had to be superwoman or even the flawless females. You have to appear to be perfect when, again, like I go back to, just what I've experienced today. I, you can't be all those things, but naturally we think that we have to be strong and perfect no matter what, even if it's costing us our own personal happiness. So, what I want to really just dive in today is to talk about what I call the ice, and it's just a reiteration of when I started my series back in December. And the first letter is ice, or the I, influence. And influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. And the one thing that we miss as women, and we see we got a man on the line, is is that it's the ability to first influence ourselves. You can't effectively influence anyone if you don't know what it is you're called to influence. And I know self-influence is not a word, but I think it should be. We spent so much of our time letting others define who we are and how we should show up in the world. And to be honest, having influence over who you are and what you believe to be true about you is called self-love. And again, we always put others' needs and desires before our own. And we already have influence, but it just depends on how confident we are to use it. And my core belief tells me that people are who they are, and we know that. And so I want to make sure that everyone is really looking within themselves to see where they have the ability to influence. The next one is confidence. And confidence is, pretty much what it says. Confidence is having the ability to be and believe who you are. It's a sense of power, of positive energy. And when we think about our confidence, how are we showing up? Are we really and truly operating in a space to where we're not shrinking back? We're not being passive, and we're really being true to who we are. Because I've heard people say, oh, you walked in the room and your confidence just showed up. But there have been times when that hasn't been the case. So I would just ask you to reflect on your most confident moment in your life, and think about what that looked like. Where were you? What were you doing? And kind of take those strategies and those traits and apply them to your everyday life when you're dealing with people at work, when you're dealing with your families, when you're dealing with strangers. Because confidence, in my opinion, is not high or low, it's healthy. Because you will have your good days and your bad days, but we want to have a healthy balance of being confident in who we are. Then E is esteem. And esteem basically builds upon your influence and your confidence. So when you're operating in a sense of where you have the power to have an effect on someone's character and the development of behavior of someone or something, and then you're confident in being able to exude who you are, looking people in the eye, being bold and confident about what you have to say, even if people don't agree with it, but you know why you believe what you believe and you stand on it. That's called esteem. So with that, I have created what I believe are the four realms of influence that will help you walk into being authentically and unapologetically you. And the four realms of influence are communication, relationships, productivity, leadership. And I want to highlight those and just kind of let you know what each of those mean as it relates to you being your authentic self and elevating your esteem so that you become the person that you were created to be. So communication is basically where we express our ideas. We talk about concepts or visions effectively. And communication is the core of who we are. And have you ever heard the only difference between humans and animals is their ability to communicate? And it's interesting if you see animals, dogs, for instance, they have this language and they get each other, and you're like, well, what are they doing? And I have friends with pets, and their pets are like in tune with them. So there's some type of communication going off between the animal and the human. I don't get it because I don't have pets, and I don't know if a fish would be able to communicate with me. But you have to think about how many times have someone said to you, all you had to do was ask. We make things so difficult when it comes to communicating what we want and need. And then that question always leads us to question ourselves and think like, well, dang, if I had known it was that easy, I would have asked a long time ago. So guess what? It is that easy. Relationships. That's about building trust, rapport, and mutual respect and collaboration. And with influence, you are able to make the right connections. And we're on this webinar today because we believe in relationships. Because there's power in numbers, productivity, and you, that to me, that's being um, in a space of getting things done. And we all know that you can get more done in less time when you are one conscious of your time and you're deliberate. But all of that hinges upon how effective you are at communicating and how good you are at building relationships. And so, and then leadership is just what that is, being a leader. And being a leader is not about having a title, it's about leading others to do something. And we all know we want to be led by people who are ethical and who we trust and believe. And when you are operating in your spirit of influence, you're able to get all of those things done. And it also helps you with personal satisfaction. But when we talk about influence and what we believe about ourselves to be true, we have to then kind of go back to all of the key relationships that we have in our lives, and that's from our parents, our siblings, our friends, co-workers, people we consider as acquaintances. And the first question I want to ask you is, who told you that? What have you begun to believe about yourself that other people have said was true about you? What goal in life have you not been able to achieve because someone said you should be doing something else? Whose dream are you living out? Theirs or yours? How many of you have been told you're not good enough or you shouldn't do that? And I don't know, that's crazy. You know, you shouldn't even be trying to do that. Ain't nobody gonna listen to you. We've all heard that. And all of that begins to become a part of who we are just simply based on what someone has told us. And what then we do is start working out of this self-fulfilling prophecy. And the self-fulfilling prophecy is are the things that we are saying about ourselves. And that's pretty much how you set the tone for your life. So I don't know how many of you started your day today by saying, oh, today is going to be a great day. Oh, I'm going to just get so much done. Typically, what we do is just get up and start our day. We don't affirm what we want our day to look like, but it's easy for us to begin to doubt ourselves when things don't go the way that we think that they should. So when I look at the self-fulfilling prophecy and how you elevate your esteem, it's all in about what you say about yourself and what you believe. What are you saying to exude self-love? What are you saying to reach the goal that you really want to reach? Or are you saying just what they say? I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. You will never be successful. Girl, you better get that government job and stay there because they have good benefits. But what if that job don't even align with your purpose in life? Do you stay there because it's safe? I just kind of want you to think about that, because I've heard it, time and time again. And I agree, a daily confession is very profound. And if, I mean, you can go to your favorite author, to your Bible, or whatever. You find you some words that you can use to help speak into your life. And I actually had a free ebook that I call the Power Walk, and it's the Confident Woman's Guide to Walking in Her Power Daily. And that is a book of affirmations where I list down the questions. Let's just say, why am I so healthy? And you go in and write down why you are so healthy. Even if you're not, you write that in the present state, as if you're living as if. So that's something that I have available for a free download. But then going into relationships, you are good for them, but are they good for you? So I'm going to speak in terms of relationships. So we've all had relationships where we stayed in it simply because we felt sorry for them. We felt that they needed us, but we knew it wasn't good. I mean, they're benefiting from being with you, but all along you're being drained by staying with them. So what this basically means is that you have to take an inventory of your life. Simple mathematics: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So we all know that multiplication and addition, that means the things are being added. So think about the people who do encourage you, who do hold you accountable, who are willing to tell you the truth about you. Those are the people that you need to have around. Those are the people that you need in your life. So then think about the subtraction and division. Who's adding strife to your life? Who's stressing you out? Who are you keeping around because you feel sorry for them, but they don't feel sorry for you? I mean, in all honesty, through their day-to-day interactions with you, you already know they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't, everything is about them and what they want and what they need. So I would say take an inventory of who you have around you and ask yourself that question. Are they good for me? Are they good for me? Adding, subtracting, division, multiplication. So another part to elevating your esteem is how we communicate verbally and non-verbally. And research shows that 7% of how we communicate is verbal, 93% is nonverbal, 55% is body language, and 38% is tone. And so based on that statistic alone, it's shocking to see how much of what we don't say is our communication. So I would ask you to think about, how are you communicating? You rolling your neck? You rolling your eyes? Or are you smiling and allowing someone to gaze into your eyes? What are you saying? But there's an ability to have confidence when it comes to your communication style. So one of the things that I just like to talk about, and I'm just going to highlight it here, the 5 communication styles. And the way we communicate is often a direct reflection of how confident we are. And communication is the core of how we show up in the world. So think about, depending on who you're talking to, how your form of communication will be different. How do you communicate to your children? How do you communicate to your parents? How do you communicate to that coworker that you just can't stand? What are you saying or not saying that shows up in your communication style? So I talked about the aggressive woman before, and the style is basically aggression. And aggression is basically where everything you say and do is with an attitude. It's very harsh. It's very demeaning to other people, and it breaks them down in a sense to build you up. And this is by far the worst communication style to have, because it comes across as very hostile. And what we know today, we may associate this with somebody being bipolar, because you don't know from which angle this person is going to come from on any given day. Then passive aggressive. Again, this is the person who has something to say, just like what I said I dealt with today, but I didn't say what I wanted to say, and when I thought about it, I was like, oh, I need to say that, and just so y'all know, I'm still gonna have the conversation. But a great example of this is when I was out of town and I had my iPad up and I was taking a picture of something on stage, and there was a lady sitting behind me, and she said, why don't you just enjoy the luau? And I was like, okay, I am enjoying it. So I kept taking my pictures. But what I heard her not say was, your iPad is in my way. Now, when I go back to kind of what I talked about communication up front, how easy would it have just been for her to say, Christy, can you just move your iPad down because I can't see? But the next day, she ended up apologizing, and she said, I should have just told you. And I said, and all you had to do was tell me that, and I would have moved it. But I am sure that she was mad or pissed off for the duration of that event because I was taking pictures and she couldn't see. But then she actually took it upon herself to move her chair just a little bit so she could see the stage. So she made it work for her, but secretly she was, kind of upset with me and my iPad. The submissive woman. So this is the yes woman, and similar to the yes man. They say yes to anything and everything just to please other people, and this is probably where low self-esteem shows up the most, because this person doesn't have the capacity to make sound decisions, only for fear of how others will perceive her or him. This is where rejection probably shows up the most. So instead of being exposed for your inadequacies, your areas of weakness, this person will just say yes and secretly be frustrated because they begin to feel used. And oftentimes, people will continue to go to this type of person because they can know that they can get what they want without being questioned. And then the manipulator. This is just that person who does whatever they need to do to get what they want at any cost. Now, they'll come across as sweet and caring and like they really want your help, but it's really all about them. And I don't know how many of you have friends or family members who that every time that they call, it's going to be that they need something. And they're going to always pose the question to where you end up offering and they didn't have to ask. So that's being manipulative. But the sweet spot to being confident in a healthy way is being assertive. And being assertive is basically walking your power, being who you are, showing up, shoulders drawn back, eye contact, saying what you mean and meaning what you say, even if other people don't agree with it. And this is the type of person that people respect. And this is probably one of the most difficult communication styles there is to master, because we're always so used to being angry and upset. And society has taught us that the only way you can have good relationships is that they have to be unhealthy first. So, and when I think of relationships and how we respond, how many of you have friends who were in this like bad relationship, kind of like the abusive woman syndrome? They know that they need to get out, but they think because drama is something that they've always been a part of, that means that they're loved and someone is caring about them. But really and truly, we know that that's not how we should be living our lives. So what I want to encourage everyone to do is work on being assertive, work on showing up, being who you are. Even if you feel that you're going to be rejected, do it anyway, because the only way you can elevate your esteem is through your confidence. But in order to do that, we have to adjust our belief system, which goes back to what I just mentioned. Um, who told you that? What did you hear growing up? What are you saying? What are you doing differently to really elevate you to that place to where your esteem is showing up? You're being authentically and unapologetically you. So I have 4 steps that I use to rock in your ice. And they're my 4 R's. And I pretty much practice those daily. And that's how I can always go back to where my trigger starts showing up. And the first one is revive. And revive is just basically what it is, getting your fight back. And that's where you have to go in and do the assessment of how you started losing your confidence, how you started not being influential, how did you start shrinking back? Where did you get off the path to being the authentic you? Recharge. And that's where I go to the cell phone. Recharge is like, once you're ready to get your back, you plug into the right resources to do that. That's having people who hold you accountable. That's personal development. That's surrounding yourself around like-minded people who can get you to where you want to be in life. And a lot of times that is changing our circle. You will hear you have changed, or you think that you're better than other people. But that's not the case. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. There is nothing different that I can do that you can't do. But the only thing we have to remember is that we are all called to something different. Everybody has a place and a purpose here on earth. You just have to be able to get your fight back and get into the game. And we know when our cell phone battery dies, and mine won't keep a charge for nothing now. I don't know what that's about. I have to keep plugging it up. But how long do I have to wait to get charged back up? Sometimes it may be instant. My thing says it's a fast charger, but sometimes that can take an hour. I need my phone. So I would just ask you to go back to think about what resources do you need to plug into in order to get recharged. Redirect. Get back on the right track. And the only thing I can think of here is the compass. North, south, west, east, you in the middle. Do you actually know what it is you're supposed to be doing? And 9 times out of 10, you do, but you are afraid to step out because of fear of what other people may think. Do you? Because if I had known what I know now, think about the lady who did the Post-it notes. Who would have thought that you put some glue on the back of a sheet of paper and now you have Post-it notes in all kinds of colors? That was a brilliant idea. And nobody thought of it. And I bet people told her, that's stupid. But you need to get centered and really think about how you need to redirect your life so you can get back on the path that you were called to be on. The last one is release. So when you are in a place where you got clear direction of your purpose, you can just go out there and do it. It will come to you naturally. The people, the resources, everything you need is tied to you knowing what your purpose is. It's not what your mother said, it's not what your father said. It's in you. What do you do well? When you think about something that's easy and that you love to do, 9 times out of 10, that's probably what your purpose is. So as we're getting ready to wind down the webinar, I just want you to do some quick reflection, knowing your worth. Clear your mind and think of one area in your life where you are denying your own self-worth. Where are you denying you? And that's something that may be hard for some of us, and some of us, we may know, right off what that is. And write that down and think about what you need and who you need to help you get that back, because you are all that you have. You're all that you have. So instead of putting everybody first, reverse it. Put you first so that then you can give to everybody else who's been assigned to you in a way where you're healthy, you're whole, and you're sane. And a lot of us don't know how to do that. But as we're winding down, I have something, to just kind of help you get there. So I have an invitation to give more. I have a 4-week program called Purposeful Pursuit, 4 weeks to finding the real you. And what that is, it's going to be an online virtual group where we have a private Facebook group. You get 3 30-minute group coaching sessions and one 1-hour one-on-one call with me as we're working through the program. And this is for people who are ready to get paid their worth. I don't know why my picture showed up there, y'all, but they want their opinions and perspectives to be heard. You want to be given an opportunity to grow. You want to be included in key projects and decisions. You want to be recognized as a proactive leader, and that's within your workplace and your community. And you want to be able to demonstrate your value and have others recognize it. And if that is for you, I want to encourage you to sign up for the 4-week webinar, the 4-week series, and we start that on February the 29th. And that is an introductory investment of $97. I only have 5 slots left, so I want to make sure that I share that with you guys today on the webinar. And if you are interested, I have the URL for you to be able to join there, and I am going to also put that in the chat box, and I will also send that out as part of my thank you email to you for joining the webinar today. And then if you would like to also just, you are, as it relates to the 4 realms of influence, you can go to your influence IQ quiz, and that is a free tool that I've created to help you see where you are as it relates to the 4 realms of influence. And I thank everybody today for their time and allowing me to share my heart and what I'm very passionate about. And I am going to open the line up for questions. If anyone has any questions, I'll be on the line for a minute. And if not, I thank you all for joining, and I will see you on our next webinar in March. Are there any questions? Okay. Oh, any questions? Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love to share. Um, you're welcome. Thank you, Charmaine. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Again, you can also follow me on Twitter at Christy Monk and Periscope as well. And my Facebook is Dr. Christy Monk. And you're welcome to, Pam. Thank you. So I want you all to have a good night and thank you for joining.